1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together. Hello everyone, this is episode 25 of Captive Conversations. I have Dan Hawkie, Chief Commercial Officer of TipJar, and we're going to learn more about TipJar today and more about your history, because I didn't know half of it, and to be fair, unlike other people, which I've looked on LinkedIn, they sort of like, there isn't much. Like, so I had Mo from Pre-Shift here last time, and it's like all hidden. I don't like to talk about it, but actually your breakdown of where you've come and where you're from is really interesting. So, but don't say anything, we'll come back to it. I'll let you give everyone a wave. So that's everyone a bit of a wave and a virtual wave for people who aren't watching. So, thank you for coming.
No, thank you.
We have two questions, so we're going to go straight in from Mo at Pre-Shift, and his questions are, and it's a negative one. So, what do you hate most about the industry, and what are your pet peeves about the industry? Which is a bit of a challenging one, but
hate's a strong word.
I know. So, I mean, I quite like the second part. What's your pet peeves about the industry?
Yeah, I think probably the perception of hospitality from the outside in terms of it being a career. I think from that side of things, it's done me extremely well through my career. We talk about it a little bit later on in the podcast, but I've worked in hospitality all my life. I've seen some great examples of people that have started off as KPs and being CEOs of really successful companies. And I think some of it is our own fault that we don't promote it as a career. Sometimes we just promote frontline jobs and don't really give the full picture of what it could mean for a career. So that's probably my biggest pet peeve and something I think we can improve on within the sector. I think Hospitality Rising's done a great job over the last couple of years.
Amazing.
Big fan of Hospitality Rising, but I think it's down to us as operators, as suppliers, to really showcase what hospitality is about, because it can do some great things for people, and it's an amazing sector. I'll never work in any other sector as far as I can see. I absolutely love it, and I think that is probably the one thing that we need to do better as a sector, promote it as a proper career.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. It's interesting because I spoke to we had Scott Turner on a little while ago, and he was in Australia for a bit, and he was like, "Man, over there, like even the baristas are like championing everything," and he goes, "Hospitality is declared as a career across the board." And I think over here, you're right. I think some people do it because of they want that as a role, and they want to escalate. I wish more people would talk about it more here about that.
Well, I just think, as I've said, there's examples of KPs through to CEOs.
Yeah.
There's brilliant cases across, but it doesn't have to be what you start off. I started as a frontline operator for 13, 14 years, and I've moved into the tech side of things. I still class myself as working in hospitality. Yeah. And I think you can be a frontline worker, but you could go into marketing, HR, finance. So there's no reason, if you're doing a degree, you're going to university, that you can't still continue that career. There's no better sector than hospitality. It's fun, it's great. You
get to meet cool people.
Exactly. You make friends for life.
Yeah. I agree.
And so I just think we could do a lot better at promoting it as a career. And you mentioned Australia. America's a prime example of it as well. I was in New York last week, and it's a fantastic area to go to and see true hospitality. Their staff in their operations, restaurant operations and bar operations are incredible, because they're fighting for every tip. And it's a career for them. They can earn 3 times their salary, 4 times their salary easily on tips. And it's something that they see as a career that they'll do for 30, 40, 50 years. Yeah. And no reason why they can't do that here, or they can move into these other functions that we promote as well.
I agree. Okay, question number 2. It's another negative one, and it's I don't know. He was feeling a bit tired towards the end of the conversation. So, what has been your worst hospitality experience as a guest? You don't have to say the brand, because that's the challenging piece, but or what type of hospitality? I don't know. I feel that Mo needs a bit of a telling off, to be honest with you, and I'm gonna tell him. But he was like, "You keep doing positive things here, so let's talk about the other side." So maybe the most challenging hospitality experience. That's instead of worst.
I won't name the brand. There's a brand that I've dined in many a times. I'm a family man. I've got 3 kids, and that's probably a really important factor when you go out. What's going to suit the kids, both from a menu factor. I've got 3 kids that love different types of foods, but also what they can experience in the actual venue. Sorry.
It was on silent. Sorry, continue.
And yeah, I think there's a particular brand that I loved as a teenager or late teens, going into my early 20s, and I think it lost its way. However, the kids with their different tastes love going to this particular restaurant. But every time I would go there, it would fail to deliver.
Yeah.
And there's been some incredible people that have gone through that business operationally, marketing-wise, over the years, and they've never been able to rescue that brand to where it was probably nigh on 20 years ago.
Yeah.
From delays, like it's fine to have a 30-40 minute delay on mains coming out if you get communicated from the service.
Yeah.
When it comes to an hour and no communication, when you get plastic in your food and you know it's there.
So you've had some good experiences then.
All in the same brand.
It's all been you actually, isn't it? Your kids have been fine. Like, what's this? And they're eating away and happy. So it's always the challenge because you're making changes, aren't you?
The thing from my side is, I think I can be super critical in my head because I'm an ex-operator and I'm a perfectionist as well, but I'm very empathetic. I understand the pressures of running an operation.
Yeah.
And so for me to complain in a restaurant is hardly ever. And yet, obviously, my previous role to Tipjar was in a customer experience business, trying to promote feedback. I'd always try and give constructive feedback where it's possible, but I think it's really difficult when you continue to go to a brand and they fail to deliver every time. So I've not stepped in that restaurant operation now for a good 5 years or so.
Kids don't mind now, do they?
Well,
you found somewhere else.
There's so many other options out there.
There are loads.
It's a tough market, so you have to deliver. It's customer loyalty.
I think consistency is the key, right? And especially with kids. Okay, so we're going to go into our questions, and these are good questions. So the first question on our side is best hospitality experience.
I'm pretty fortunate that I've travelled pretty well. I've done a full year of travelling, and I had some amazing experiences across the globe. One probably stands out in Phuket. There's a hotel called Sala in Phuket. It's an incredible place that you go to, and I think it may have seemed bigger to me back then because this is probably 15 years ago.
So you were in Phuket when there was not much there.
Yeah, and this was just incredible. But even now, I think that something that I would love to see from our sector more of is personalisation. So 15 years ago or so, I went to this hotel, checked in at reception. Well, they sat me down, hot towel, lovely fresh lemonade that was brought over. And then they sat down and tried to find out my preferences so they could make sure that the room was catered for that.
Oh, wow.
Everything from smells through to, so there's soaps and lotions, through to what kind of material I wanted the bedding to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That was 15 years ago.
Yeah, and I was travelling, so I was on a budget. But actually, we flashed out for my birthday. This was, and bedding, pillows. You then go to the room, check in and stuff, and then you've got activities booked. And when you come back in, like turn down service, everything is completely rejuvenated. Yeah. They had a lovely chocolate cake in the bedroom to say happy birthday to me as well. But it was just an incredible room, fantastic features, really personalised experience. So it's the Sala Hotel in Phuket, and I think it's still running. I'm
going to write that down, actually, to be fair. But because I will forget, actually, so...
And the great thing is I returned about 3-4 years later because of that experience. Yeah. And the great thing is I was on their CRM, on their PMS system. And they checked, these are the things that you ordered last time. We've got your room set up this already for you. Are you happy with this? Of course it was. Like, it was incredible.
I can imagine the upgrade path from the previous era to PMS to this one. How do we get all our paper writing into that's amazing. I have to say Thailand is my favorite place. Yeah. I went last Christmas and to Phuket and love it. I just love the culture and everything, just the food, the culture, the style, everything.
They talk about the land of smiles. It genuinely is. Like the hospitality over there is incredible. They want to look after you.
Yeah. And nothing's too much as well, which is really nice. So
once again, it's a career. In Thailand, it is seen as a career. If you're in hospitality, it is a big career. It's obviously one of their biggest commodities in terms of tourism.
Yeah, massive. So, I mean, when did you go back to Phuket?
Last time I went was probably about 8 years ago, I think it was.
So I've been a few times, and it's really interesting to see things change and new resorts appear, but some of the cool things you go to are still the same, which is nice. Good, I like that. Okay, so best hospitality tech, no self-noms. Sorry.
I have to give a shout out to the sector. We've got some fantastic technology across the board. I think
you can do a few if you want to. I don't know if you want to upset anyone. Thank you. But yeah,
I think I'm really fortunate in the roles that I've worked in. The last couple of roles, Feed It Back and Tip Jar, that we've had some fantastic partners and integrations. We've always prided ourselves on the actual level of integrations that we go to. So there are some fantastic partners out there across the board, those that look after smaller businesses through to the absolute enterprise whales that are out there in the market. I think I'd like to go a little bit left field with this. And I think anything that can really improve the user experience or employee experience is super critical. And I think from a customer perspective, Red Engine do an incredible job with their technology in Electric Shuffle and Flight Club Darts. You think, I don't know the year that Flight Club Darts opened up, was it 10 years ago or something like that? And the dartboards that you would see in the traditional pub, bog standard, they've taken it to a different level. And I'm a big fan of going out for experiences. So when you go into a Flight Club or an Electric Shuffle's probably my favourite actually, in terms of their two brands. But you go there and the technology enhances the experience. Even to the tune now when they're taking photos and videos of the shots that you play and things like that, and you can then put that on your social media.
It's very clever.
Yeah, I think they do an incredible job. So
if you can share something quickly, because you're in the moment, everyone, and then you've blasted it. It's really clever. So back in the day of those little iPads that used to do photo booths and stuff, taking that to the next level. So no, they're great brand and great concept, and I think taking that just over the edge of just traditional, because there is traditional competitive socializing, and then there's the next level. Okay. We're going to go, I keep doing this, we're going to go back in time. So it actually says here, basically what I wrote was your entry into hospitality, how you got involved in the industry, what drew you here. And I put here, I wrote, from hotels to the dark side, ethos and hospitality tech. So where was your first job? Where was the role? What was it?
Yeah, so I was a conference and events, or conference and banqueting host, Silver Service.
Silver Service? There's lots of, I think Lucy did Silver Service.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And Scott from Morden did Silver Service as well. Scott apparently said he can still do it now.
Yeah, and it helps with chopsticks as well, to be fair, just the fact that you can use your fingers in that way. But I can remember my first shift was they didn't let me go rogue straight onto the customers. It was doing bread rolls or potatoes to practice. So I took it home and practiced at home. And I loved it. And
because bread rolls, you gotta get them.
Yeah. So if you can do a bread roll, it's a little bit easier to then start to do the veg or chicken with sauce and.
Oh
things
my
like
god!
That.
Yes.
So, But it was an incredible starting point. It was at the Hilton Hotel, which was just down the road from me, a 5-minute, 10-minute walk. And at the time, that was it's 22 years, give or take.
That was when Hilton Hotel had Silver Service.
Yeah.
Not like now.
No, I don't think anyone does these days.
No?
It's not needed with the rationale ovens and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was a great starting point for me. I joined there to the detest of my sister. My sister was working there because it was a local hotel. She really didn't want to work with her brother. So when I applied for the job, they made sure I was in a different department. She was in the restaurant. I was in conference and events. But I was first year of my A-levels, so I was 16, so it was 22 years ago this month. And I was doing business studies, economics, maths and IT. I was going to be in an office somewhere. That was going to be my career. I realised a few weeks into my A-levels that probably wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I dropped a couple of those subjects. I tried psychology and philosophy. Philosophy was not my bag. After 8 weeks of that, I had to quit the subject because I loved the thought process of it, but if I went into an exam, I wouldn't have known what to write. Yeah. So I carried on with psychology. Exactly. Psychology and economics and maths, but my career was made at that point. I knew that hospitality was for me.
You hit the bug.
Caught the bug.
Yeah.
Exactly that. So second year of my A-levels, I actually went full-time at the Hilton Hotel.
Okay.
Carried on studying, but didn't get the grades I should have done because I just loved hospitality. Moved hotels when I was 18.
So what happened? So what A-levels did you get?
So I got maths. I did get maths, psychology and economics, but not great grades.
That's all right.
But it didn't matter because all I wanted to do was hospitality.
Yeah. So you did all right. As a failback, just in case. Okay, so then from there to...
So I moved to Jarvis Hotels, old hotel company. Moved there as a supervisor, and that's where my career really took off. I had a fantastic general manager that really took me under his wing.
I love that in hospitality. You find someone who sees the worth in you and then under the wing, especially in hotels, I think specifically, it's very much like that. So... Jarvis. Let's go back to... So, Jarvis, you moved to Jarvis Hotels.
Jarvis Hotels had an incredible general manager there that took me through a number of different roles over 5 years, moved hotels within Jarvis as well, down to Farnham. Got up to deputy GM of a hotel operations manager, looking after reception, housekeeping, food and beverage, kitchen, every function within the hotel. And hotels are underappreciated in terms of their versatility and what you can learn. Bearing in mind that the next hotel that I moved on to had an £8 million P&L just for one hotel.
Wow.
4,000 leisure members, a Starbucks within there. It was Village Hotels.
Oh, okay.
So,
I got a village near where I live.
Love Village Hotels. Great brand.
Yes.
And so, as I said, I think I got to GM soon after that in different hotel companies. And unfortunately for me, I think it was the time I was raising a family, and hotels are unforgiving when it comes to timing. So, 24-hour operation, 7 days a week. I saw my relationship change with my oldest. She was very young at the time, and I just thought I need to spend a bit more time at home. I was always a massive fan of technology, so soon moved into technology with a local EPOS company. Learned how to sell technology at that company, but I knew it wasn't for me. I knew that I wanted to be in a company that can make big differences across the country with big operations. So I had a fantastic couple of years at Trail after that.
Was that the beginning? How long had Trail been going?
Not very long. So when I joined there, I think we had about 120 sites live maximum. It was 80 to 120 sites, a couple of brands.
Early doors.
Very, really early, yeah. Joe Cripps and Will, the founders, were incredible people to learn from as well about what hospitality tech should be about. And by the time I left, I think we were about, after 2 years, we'd had massive growth. I think we were about 2,500 sites at that point. Signed up some incredible brands. Had an amazing time
so you went out selling?
So my role there was head of commercial, so very much a sales-based role. But I don't see myself as a salesman. I'm a hospitality operator. That is what I am. And it's always very consultative. Recently with Tipjar, we've started work with The Alchemist. And Alchemist, Hannah Plum over there, love her. She said, do we follow you, Dan, or do you follow us? And I think it's a mixture. Like, they've worked with me at Trail, then me back in our Tipjar. But I think it's
your black book.
I think you build trust with people. Yes. I wouldn't work for tech that I didn't believe in. And Trail was incredible. It was revolutionary at the time. We were genuinely in a position at that point where everyone was still using paper-based compliance books,
crazy.
Folders in back kitchens, no visibility over your health and safety and food and safety or your operations. If you're a multi-site manager, you don't know whether the staff are doing what they should be on a site by site.
Just assume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's where
fridge checks.
But even operations managers, they were traveling from site to site just to check certain things. So
yes.
You don't need to check on the sites that are performing brilliantly. Concentrate on the tail, concentrate on those sites that aren't delivering. And when you have that visibility, you can make better decisions as a business. So Trail was incredible. I was there for 2 years.
You probably learned quite a bit as well, going from POS to that.
Definitely.
And speaking to lots of different operators as well.
Yeah, and just
learning
I think
loads.
The 4 different technology companies I've worked for on that side of things have done very different things. We've done EPOS in terms of you have to have an EPOS system. One of the first bits of technology you have within a business. Moved on to the compliance area, not the sexiest area, but it was something critical for a business. And then my 2 biggest passions is customer experience, is what I've done for the next 5 years at Feed It Back.
You were there for 5 years?
5 years,
wow.
Yeah. So I moved there as head of commercial director, whatever it was. And then the final 2 years as managing director. And we had fantastic growth at Feed It Back as well. But to do customer experience, and then probably what I love the most is the people experience, because as I said at the beginning of the podcast, I love this sector with a passion, and I want people to see it as a career, and I genuinely believe that we have a big part to play at that Tipjar, to promote it as a sector that you can earn and do well in. So Feed It Back was incredible. 5 years over there, with the 2 years of COVID in the middle of that.
What was that like? Because you had loads of operators still running because loads of QSRs, loads of takeaway, and to get that version of feedback, what was that like?
It's a kind of taboo subject to say that COVID helped us. Like, COVID gave us a real big opportunity to still work with operators, but the demands weren't as much because you only had certain pockets of operators still open. So we were able to really nail down on the product at that point to get it to a point that we were very, very happy with. We've done some fundamental changes over that period of time to improve the whole user
gave you the
experience.
opportunity to test bed
Exactly.
a small environment of people.
And when you've got operators that are rightfully so demanding what's right for their business, you try and look after everyone as best you possibly can, but you have less clamour for change at that point. It's just a case, like most businesses are just opening and keeping the lights on when they are open at that time. So we made some big changes. But then coming out of COVID, the real focus for operators was delivering excellent experiences. And to deliver excellent experience, you need data and insights to tell you what's going well and what needs improving. So we've done extremely well through that period of time. Hospitality tech is, for those that don't know, is not an area where you make profit in for a very long time. And so Feeder Back was running for a number of years, not reaching profitability. I'm really pleased in the final 2 years that I was there as MD that we reached profitability.
Nice. It's hard. It's hard.
Very hard. We sold the business to a previous private investor, and they've got big plans for the future in terms of what they do. They're in great hands now with Olivia Fitzgerald as their MD. I guess it moves on to Tipjar then. Tipjar and me.
How did that happen?
Yeah, I mean, long time coming. JB.
Well, the hooks in ages ago. They're like, I'll reel him in a little bit. Let's let him run on this project, and then we'll slowly pull it in.
Well, funny enough, JB, the founder of Tipjar and CEO of Bars for Brewdog, he bought Trail off me. So sold to him back in the day. And always had a really good relationship with him. We were one of Tipjar's first integrated partners at Feed It Back. Really integral. Like, if you're given great feedback, then you can tip the team. So it's a great integration that we set up there. And probably for a good 2 year,s JB was saying, now's the right time to join Tipjar.
I'm not ready yet. Soon.
But they've also said if I would have joined at that time, it would have been something that I might have been frustrated with. They were very much early stage startup, and I'd done a lot with Feed It Back, and it was a long time coming, long notice period with Feed It Back as well, but it was something I always wanted to do, and it was about timing. I wanted to get to Feed It Back to profitability. I wanted to ensure
you had your targets to hit what you wanted to do, right?
And the people's important. I wanted to make sure I got certain people to certain stages within that business. So it's really, really important to leave a legacy.
Can I ask a question? Because you were at Feed It Back quite a while. For the experience that you had in hospitality, and then putting people under your wing, do you find that that's, because I talk to other people as well about communication, and in hospitality, if you worked in hospitality and you learn how to communicate differently with people, but did you find that with you like being under the wing of did you find that that's helped you do that in your business as well? Like, as you said, because you were saying, like, you wanted to make sure people were in the right place. Not a lot of business or CEOs or MDs do that, and it sounds like the mentality from before is sort of in there of bring people to where they should go to.
Definitely, I think it's super integral. People are the most important part of any business, because you look after them, they'll look after your customers, they'll look after the P&L. So it's super important to look after the teams. And that's a big reason why I've joined Tipjar. In terms of the company culture is great, but actually what we're doing for the sector. I mean, Tipjar's been about now for nearly 6 years, 5.5 years.
Yeah, I remember the little boxes.
Yeah.
Who was I talking to the other day? I was talking to somebody the other day who said to me that I asked about best hospitality tech. Was it Lucy? Maybe Lucy said it. I don't remember who he said it now, but they were like, the most memorable tech that they remember being at most places, because like salons as well, is a Tipjar box. Well, from back in the day, from the box before integrations, there was just a box, right, and you just tap it and off you go. Simple.
And even before that, QR codes. I mean, we were founded in 2019. A few months later, COVID hit. But we were still able to function at that point. But in the same way that the best technology companies do, they understand the market. So Tipjar was giving it away for free to help operators through that. Same for Feed It Back. We didn't charge anyone through COVID. We wanted to look after the operators. They had enough to worry about at that time. But yeah, it's probably it's our biggest problem though. QR codes.
Yeah.
It's what people associate us with, all the tap to tip boxes.
Yeah.
They're incredible. They can deliver in the right environments, less so QR codes, but tap to tip boxes in the right environments can still do an incredible job. But we've come on leaps and bounds in that time frame as well. And when we look at the growth that we've just had in the last 7 months alone, we've doubled the business in 7 months.
Yeah.
We anticipate to do the same over probably the next 6 to 9 months again as well. And that's mainly through our Super TRONC product, actually.
So talking about TRONC, because I'm not an operator. I work with lots of operators. I've done events in the past, but I'd never really had to deal with I did in the past had to fix an Excel spreadsheet that was linked to 7 other Excel spreadsheet, the TRONC master. So I have seen it. So for us mere mortals, what is TRONC?
Yeah.
And then we can talk about other bits after it. So go for it.
Complex subject.
Yeah.
Ultimately, to break it down as easy as possible, TRONC is employer received tips.
Yeah.
Tips that are received by the business. Then it could be in credit card charges, service charge, and it can even be cash taken tips that the employer touches. And then they have the responsibility of distributing that, typically through a TRONC master.
Yes.
And obviously many a TRONC schemes can be set up to make sure that the right people are earning the right amounts of money through this.
Yeah, so I remember, one of my guys who worked for me used to work at Frankie Benny's back in the day.
Yeah.
So, in the kitchen, not in his other half worked in the front of house. Okay. So she'd obviously make more tips. And we were talking ages ago about obviously the split, so chefs work at X, front of house work at X, and obviously there's cash tips as well. So I guess that allows you to separate with who has what and what goes where.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit of a contentious subject, but from my side of things, I'm not a fan of service charge. And I'm saying this, and yet it generates tip jar a lot of revenue. It's fundamentally what we do. But I think why I'm not a fan of service charge is because operationally, I think it's led to complacency. I think team members in traditional TRONC methods are just picking up that paycheck at the end of the month. They don't see the fruits of their labour. They don't see by looking after this table that I'm going to earn X amount. When I was an operator, we looked after that table. We knew we would be earning 5, 10, 20 pounds, whatever it might be, in a tip in your pocket, and you go home, fantastic, or you share it with the team. So I think the best operations really have a look at the best TRONC methods, and we help operators with that. We give them the guidance. We work with thousands of operators in terms of...
I guess you see what works as well and what doesn't
exactly
work.
That, and what can lead to the right kind of results that an operation is looking for. There's some great examples out there in the market of doing TRONC schemes the right way for their business. I'm a big fan of Pizza Express's model. They don't do service charge unless it's for tables of 8 or more.
Yeah.
Credit card tips or tips that pay via the app, 70% of the tip goes direct to that server.
Okay.
30% goes into a pool to be shared out between the rest of the team.
Yeah.
And therefore, that means that server sees that customer as super important.
Yeah.
Because that is paying for whatever it is they're going to spend their money on that month.
Yeah, I like that.
And so therefore, the service levels are intensified when you're in that kind of environment. And that's exactly what you see in New York when I've just come back from there. Those that are on frontline operations deliver the best experiences.
I think the funny thing about America is the service charge. Yeah, obviously, and then there's the tip.
Yeah.
And tipping culture there is crazy. I was having a chat with someone who I work with who lives just outside New York, and she was saying to me, "I had the worst matcha ever. Like I got a matcha, and it was terrible." And I gave them a bloody tip. I took money out of my wallet and I gave them the tip. And she was, I left going, why did I do that? And it's just the mentality.
It's a given over there.
Yeah.
And in New York itself, I think the expectation these days is about 25%. But I was lucky. The experiences that I had, they deserved that. They were incredible.
I've been to amazing restaurants in New York and above and beyond.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think the new breed of TRONC is where you really have a look at your operation and what's right. Obviously, the big change on TRONC is that it's now regulated from the 1st of October. So maybe by the time this podcast goes out.
Yes. I'm hoping, I'm going to try and take little snippets. So on that note, my local Italian, Paolo, he's lovely, chef, owner, operator. I was at there last Friday. And I was like, he's got a new till system, so he's very happy. He had like a really bad...
I'm sure you gave him a recommendation on that.
Well, to be fair, he said to me, here's no money. And he said, I need something. And I said, you need something better because this isn't working. Really bad Android tablets everywhere. I don't even know what it was before. And Toast at that point had the deal on still. And I made a phone call and I said, look, can you look after him? They were like, well, let's see how much he does, credit could, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I let them get on with it. They basically gave him free hardware, which is very nice of them. The deal was not available anymore. This is about 6 months ago. And so he's got one big deal. He's got the order tablets. He's got the payment table. It's great. And we're in a local town, right? So I said to him, what are you doing about the new legislation? What are you talking about? If you want to ask me about pasta and how to make pizza and a burrata, I can help you. But what are you talking about? And I was like, the new legislation, what's coming out? He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. So this is an opportunity, really. I want to let people know, and we'll probably take a snippet and post it before. What is legislation? What is it? Because I don't think the government. I mean, listen, I'm not an operator, so I'm not getting the letter that might be sent. But what is what is happening? Two, how do people get by it? Well, not get by it. To what they do about it. And three, what's happening?
Is this still working? Yeah, I thought I heard something.
Sorry, we've had technology challenges. I'm a bit loud, but yeah.
So this has been completely unregulated in the past. Now,
and that's basically allowed people like Mr. Blogs, who owns 5 restaurants, to keep all the service charge to himself and not do anything with it, and any tips in his pocket, and then tells everyone else just here's a £5, go home.
Exactly. And so we're not here to judge any operation. So we've had operators that have come in and they've taken funds out of the TRONC pot to try and facilitate better working practices, whether it be staff parties, this, that, or the other. Ultimately, the biggest change to this is a regulated market now to make sure that tips are dealt with fairly. And so the two elements is fairness and transparency.
Yeah.
100% of tips need to be paid out to the staff and to the staff that have had an impact on service at that particular site.
Oh, okay. So because you could set the sum as multi-sites, right? Exactly. And there might be multiple split across.
And so a lot of schemes in the past might have had a TRONC pot where they centralise all of the tips and they spread it across an estate. Yeah. Now you have to showcase within your TRONC policy why there's certain people that might be included in it. And that's fine if you've got someone that has had an impact on service of that site, an ops trainer that's come in and delivered fantastic training over a couple of days, maybe involved in service, they can earn from that TRONC pot. But it's about what's right. And so a lot of businesses might say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to pay that person appropriately for that salary, for the salary for the job that they're doing. We want to award the staff members that are delivering on the front line. Yeah. And that's one of the key things from this is about fairness. It's also a case of making sure that tips are paid out quickly. So in the past, operators might keep back reserve funds. So it might be that December's a booming month. Let's keep 25% of these tips back and we'll pay out people in January, February and March when we're a little bit quieter. That can't be done anymore. You have to pay tips out no later than the month following.
So like back in the day, people have the Pringles jar and they stuff in their tips.
This is what I say to everyone. Like when I was an operator and I took tips, I was seeing the fruits of my labour at the end of a shift.
Yeah.
Worst case, it might be at the end of a week when you put it all into a tip jar and you start to spread share those funds out between multiple people.
Yeah.
Now, traditional methods, payroll pays once a month and therefore people don't see their tips until the end of the month.
Yeah, no visibility.
And it does impact on employee engagement. It impacts on customer service levels, impacts on upsells because the team members don't see the benefit of it, especially when it's pulled all together and they don't see a direct impact on what they do as an individual.
Do you think that's affected the way that people see hospitality and affected people in hospitality of like, oh, well, at the end of the month, I'm going to get X?
There's a lot of things that have impacted on our sector. It can't be put down to just one thing. We've had it tough over the last 5 years. It's always been tough. Finding the right people. It's been exacerbated over the last few years with the gig economy, Brexit, inflation. Obviously, with Brexit, a big part of our workforce decided to go back home. Yeah. Then we've had COVID through all of that as well, and we're fighting.
But if you in your mind, if what you have now and people had it a couple of years ago, do you think that would have? I think people would have stayed either where they're staying and seen the value in it.
Yeah, 100%. It would have had an impact. I can't say how much of an impact. Of course. We have a case study with the team at Honestbergs and Tommy. I know you're good friends with Tommy and been on this as well. Tommy is a big advocate of what Tip Jar do, and they gave us some stats that it's helped improve their employee retention by over 30%.
Wow.
If you can increase your employee retention by 30%, it's incredible.
And the industry is so difficult right now. The amount of people I speak to who just continuously struggle with good staff. But if you're able to show the value of what you can get, then I think that's
And a lot of operators, and this isn't for a Tip Jar plug here, a lot of operators are changing TRONC schemes to attract the best talent. That's a key thing for them now.
Interesting.
Yeah, looking at it to say, well, actually, we want to implement a scheme here that's going to actually make people get their tips quicker,
Yeah.
because we pay out weekly to the team members. I mean, we work with Domino's across their 1,700 sites. We pay out their drivers immediately once they've been tipped via their app.
Really? Oh,
So
wow.
instant gratification for the work they've done. That encourages better behaviours.
Yeah, massive.
So we're trying to get back to traditional hospitality. Team members seeing the fruits of their labour as soon as they possibly can. And as part of that legislation, it's the transparency piece. Everyone needs to know now, like,
at any time, someone in your staff member come up to you and say, what's the deal, what's going on?
Exactly.
And they have to show the visibility.
And so as part of the legislation, they can request to see the tip splits effectively of the site, not full visibility, but we earn £5,000 on this particular week. That is why your split of this was £250 or whatever it might be. They can request that visibility on up to 3 years worth of their tipped earnings.
Wow.
There's a lot of work for operators to have to do that,
especially
in a manual
like
process.
the single operators as well. Like
Exactly.
they have just enough time to run their business, let alone marketing, cooking, and dealing with staff.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of single site operators won't be aware of it. We're still dealing with many multi-site operators that just aren't aware or holding off.
Sorry, I'm layman here. I haven't seen anything from the government for me, but I mean, are they just not being very vocal with it, or is it just?
I think
they're doing it in different ways. Or
the government have it's gone past Houses of Parliament, House of Commons. It's all been passed. It's 1st of October. The Department for Business and Trade done their press release a few months back to confirm that the change of date to 1st of October in the Code of Practice. We were the only other company mentioned in that press release. So there was a quote from our CEO, Ben Thomas, which was amazing.
Yeah, I met Ben. I did a little awards thing with him. He's awesome.
Oh, did you? Was that Hospitality Tech?
Yeah,
was it? Cool.
Very, very awesome guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And once again, he's an ex-operator. He's a mixologist. He was a bartender that was paying to keep the lights on with his tips because he was getting physical tips on a day-to-day basis. That's the impact that we can have as a business, that we can help people with whatever they want to do, whether it's they want to save their funds.
Let's go to TipJar. So they can we'll talk about Super TRONC in a second, but the base product. So my little matey Paolo, I love him to bits. Awesome food. He just got a new till system. Didn't spend any money, but he got a new till system. That's now settled in. He's happy now because he has a till system. Doesn't have a huge amount of time. What's his route to get this done? Is it just sign up, get going, and then it works?
Yeah, we automate everything through EPOS rotor integrations. We do other solutions whereby you don't even have to worry about that. We can integrate directly with the PDQ terminal, ensuring those funds don't ever touch the business accounts, and therefore we take that money to distribute straight to the team members at that time as well. So yeah, easy route to market for any independent or multi-site operator to get signed up and not have to worry about it.
I think that's the challenge. That that word worry is going to freak out a lot of people.
There's big consequences to this. I mean, yes, if you go
I think they're going to definitely make people. No offense to the word, but make people pay. Yeah. They're gonna. I can foresee that they'll go and find someone and make an example.
Well, it was death by press for one of the brands a few months back when they tried to do something a little bit different.
Oh, was it the brand fee? Yeah, I saw that. I saw that. Yeah.
And do you know what? I think
that was a 180 quickly. But
and I'm not going to crucify them. I commend them for trying something, but it was the wrong thing. They tried to dupe the customer. They tried to dupe their staff members. It was the wrong thing to do, but a lot of operators will have benefited from that because they saw what not to do.
Yes. I think, to be fair, it was an awesome thing to happen.
Yeah.
Because then it shined a light on actually, you can't really do it.
No. And there will be employment tribunals. They want this to be self-policing. The fact is, an employee can raise an employment tribunal from the 1st of October and say this TRONC policy is not fair. And there's a lot of people that will believe their TRONC policies aren't fair. They can't do anything right now, really. Once it's regulated, they can. And the fine, so if that gets passed through the courts, and they say, yes, this is unfair, £5,000 fine for the business, but then they can multiply it by every single employee within that business that's been impacted. It's a huge fine.
That is huge.
But I still don't see that's the biggest thing. The biggest thing is PR disaster.
Yeah.
Like that brand that we just touched on then, to recruit people when you've got bad negative PS about your working practices.
And it's hard to find staff already.
Exactly. So I think that will be a big thing.
So quick question, cash.
Yep.
Because there's not much now. I mean, I went out the other day with my wife and went out for dinner, and Adam, on the way back from work, go to the cash point and get 40 quid out, because when just in case we need to give a tip, and my mentality is still that, because my brain doesn't see. I don't know. I'm different to my friends. My friends will see the service charge and go, "Why are you giving a tip?" And I'm like, "But the service was amazing. But there's a service charge. I work in hospitality like you, so my brain is This was amazing. Service was amazing. Give them a bloody tip. So they'll leave, and I'll go give them a tip, and they're like, "What were you doing? Nothing. Wasn't doing anything." But I still go and get the cash. Not that I should. So I think, I don't know. That's my brain. What happens if people are still doing cash? How does that work?
It's a policy that can be decided on a site-by-site or group basis. So an operator may decide to say cash chips are put into the same TRONC pot as long as they get agreement from the teams.
Yeah.
Because you have to get agreement from the team in terms of a TRONC policy. So it could be to say, well, actually, cash chips are going to be put alongside everything else and shared out as part of that TRONC scheme.
Yeah.
Or a business may decide to say, and the TRONC master may decide to say, cash chips is up to the team members to decide what they do with it.
Yeah,
that's the route a lot of businesses go down and say, actually, that's fine. Team member, if they get £10 left for them, they can put it in their pocket, or they can put it into the physical pot
if they want
exactly
to.
that, and then share it out between themselves.
Yeah,
but the business cannot influence a TRONC pot or cash anyway. It has to be the TRONC master that decides where those funds go to. But obviously, the businesses know better than anyone.
Yeah,
what
they've been doing that already. So that's exactly. Okay, fine. I think for me, in my brain, because my brain's not adjusted to giving. Some places I will go, and the other thing as well is that my local Italian have a credit card system that has the tips on it, and because they're a local business, they have service charge as well. So they don't want to put it in someone's face, the credit card machine, because they believe that. But I said to him as the owner, I said, you got a new waitress. She's freaking awesome. I mean, awesome. I mean, like banter, good conversation. I'll still give her a tip even if it doesn't. I said, just put the credit card down, and if you haven't, if you feel you can do it by case and see how you get on. But he's very much look. We're charging
skip the
charge.
tip.
Yeah,
there's a saying: don't skip the tip on the PDQs. Don't let the customer decide.
Yeah. I think so. But I think you've got to train them the right way, because last thing you want is it on your plunk down and you're like, why are you giving me this? So do you know what I mean? So I think training definitely helps with that. But you're right. No, I'm going to use that. Thank you very much. That's 100%, because I went to one around the corner here.
We're Brits. We're too kind. We don't want to ask. It's not asking. It's giving it to the customer to decide 100%. What they want to do with it. So
Passock Avenue around the corner from here, they're a Lightspeed customer. And the food's awesome. They do like the Philly cheesesteak stuff.
Oh, nice,
amazing. And I went in there, and the server, the guy at the server was awesome. It was tiny, and he took the credit card off me. He pressed 0, and I went no. I said, do that again. He goes, what do you mean? Just do it again. And I just gave him like 10%, at that point, because it was only lunch and stuff. But he was awesome.
The trick here is get Adam into your business and look after yourself.
Yeah, I'll sort it out. But yeah, I think don't skip the tip. I like that. Yeah, you should do some more. Okay, so
I was just gonna say the one thing that we haven't touched on in terms of TRONC is there's so many businesses that are still, they have a compliant TRONC scheme, and they're paying national insurance on tips. That is a big thing.
Yeah.
A big thing.
Yeah.
So we're helping operators actually claw rebates back for the last 6 years worth of national insurance claims that national insurance that they're paid on tips.
Yeah.
If you have a compliant TRONC scheme, you do not need to pay 13.8% national insurance, and the employee does not need to pay 8%. So we work closely with a guy called Andy Haman, the TRONC advisor. We find this information up when we're obviously speaking to clients. Pardon me. And we'll put them straight in contact with Andy and say, you've got a claim here. Let Andy do the work for you. And he's clawed back millions of pounds for businesses. Yeah, millions.
So with the touching on the bit where you deal with all the funds, the business doesn't have to touch it.
In our other products, Super TRONC, obviously it's employer received funds.
Yes.
They send us the funds for us to distribute to the team members automatically via our system.
But if you're integrated...
So we do the integration of the EPOS.
No. So I meant so for the other pit where it's fully integrated, and you're literally like it doesn't, the customer doesn't get it
exactly.
So
what we do on all of our other tipping methods is the business never receives those funds directly. It goes into the employee pot, and we just distribute it based on hours worked. We have HMRC clearance on this. These are deemed as cash equivalent tips because we're in a cashless society these days.
Yeah,
and therefore it could be QR code tipping, it could be the apps, it could be.
So not only is it a tipping solution, a TRONC product, but you're actually saving the business time and effort, because they're a finance team where the local accountant or whoever it might be doesn't have time to do all of that, or it would just go in the end of the month. But you're able to split that out. And then Super TRONC is you have your scheme, but you're managing the TRONC scheme for it.
Yeah, we're their TRONC master,
and then you're distributing the funds as well.
Exactly, we mitigate their risk of National Insurance and Employment Tribunal, but they're also an employee perks tool, because what we've got here is we're distributing the funds quicker to the team members. They're giving them the transparency, and we've got.
So how are they getting the funds?
In that they get their tip jar wallet, and then they can withdraw on those funds whenever they want. So we get it into their tip jar wallet on a week-to-week basis, and then if they don't withdraw those funds, we automatically pay it into their bank account once a month.
Nice.
But some big updates coming from tip jar. By the time this gets released,
I bought it. Yeah.
By the time we get this released, our spend and save products will be out in the marketplace. So we currently pay out tips automatically; they don't withdraw them from tip jar. They will have the ability to save these funds in tip jar continuously month after month and create a savings pot.
So they got the pot.
Exactly. Or they can spend directly with their tips and earn immediate cash back on that.
Yeah.
So for instance, you could go into or you could order from Domino's online or in store, and it might say £20 on the terminal. That's what they see. They may not know they're going to get a cash back at this operator, but only £18 gets taken out of their tip jar wallet. So it's an immediate cash back. So it's an employee perk.
Yeah.
Do what you want with your tipped funds.
Oh, that's amazing.
But then you can decide actually on the marketplace to say, I'm going to dine here tonight, or I'm going to shop here because I actually get immediate cash back. And as you can imagine, operators want to sign up to this.
Oh, massive. And they want to be able to give benefits. And there's loads of other perk boxes out there that are pretty basic and not, I don't think they're great personally, but you can plug into all these sort of perk systems, but when you're using that product, you're able to actually really utilize that. And that's quite nice. There's a pot.
It goes. It once again.
It's basically what Chris from Tech. Hi, Chris. He talks about his Pringles pot with stuff to cash. It's basically his Pringles pot stuff to cash.
And what it is you're getting more value from the tips that you receive. So not only you're receiving the £500 a month of tips, whatever it might be, you're able to get £600 worth of value out of it with the cash back that you're receiving off that, or the discounts that effectively you're getting from it.
And you can make a positive change to say, right, this is my pot. If you don't want to do anything with it, because not everyone wants to set up savings.
You can take it out, you can spend with it, you do what you want. It's your cash at the end of the day. So
so but for the moment, you're at the end of the month, you're taking it out.
But most of the time we see most tip jar users logging into the system 5 times a month,
really,
because they want to see what they're earning on a week-to-week basis. Now they may withdraw it weekly.
Is it an app?
The app or web browser. So it's on iOS or Android.
Are you sending push notifications to people when things happen as well?
Yes, when they get paid out, they get an alert to say you've just been paid.
Nice.
They go into which is why we see so many logins, because they go into there immediately and say, brilliant, have I earned the right amount? Yes, I have. Fantastic. Nice. Do I want to withdraw or keep it in there for a month?
So then you talked previously about giving, like, say for example, the trainers come in and so on. Does this, using the product, does that also allow the business to give bonuses and stuff, or how does that work?
Is it
tricky?
TRONC, you can't really use subjective data with TRONC. So
they've got the TRONC app as such, right?
Yeah. So for us, it's purely about TRONC and tips that get paid out. So we deliver cash equivalent tips or TRONC in exactly the same format. The only difference is we report directly to HMRC for the TRONC because we're paying tax. However, the others are being delivered at gross to the team members, and it's up to them to declare tax on that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're not having additional funds put into the system for operators to give out to people. It's purely about making sure they're compliant with
and that's
processing tips.
Big keyword right now. I think in marketing it's loyalty, and the other word is compliance, because compliance is just a quickie. Obviously, Tommy's a really good one to touch on because he's awesome with change management, putting projects in. How are you finding it with some of the bigger brands you've worked with to put a product in? Because it's hard. Like to get people on, to get people onboarded, to get someone who's, unfortunately everyone has a Tommy, to deploy it into the business. How's that been in some of the businesses?
I'm not gonna lie, we've been so busy that it's been hard work. And the great thing is we're the experts at what we do, so therefore we can make it a lot easier. We try and automate as much as we possibly can for the operator. The biggest problem for most operators that they face is the quality of the data that they have from an EPOS or a rota perspective. We unearth a lot of issues that they have with existing data that's coming through, whether it be the actual amounts that are being reported from a TRONC and a service charge perspective, through to the hours that are being processed under different employee IDs or job roles. So we identify that as part of the onboarding process.
You probably find loads of incorrect settings and
what that means is we always do dummy runs beforehand, make sure they understand this is what's going to pay out. Does this look right? Yes, it does. Or no, this doesn't quite look right. That's fine. We can make those amendments, or you need to make it within your rota product, whatever it might be, and we'll make sure that next run goes well for you.
And that's how many integrations now?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head. I would say give or take probably 40, 50 different integrations across Rota, EPOS, Order and Pay, PDQs.
Yeah. And I think I guess the vision is get that credit card machine integrated as soon as possible. So I think you mentioned a few already. So I think that's the winner, because if that gets done, then that cuts out a whole
a lot of stress taken off the business. And as I said, why they go with an external TRONC master, there's a lot of benefits, but one of the key reasons is just to wash their hands of any complications and compliance issues. It's dealt with by Tipjar in this instance. So it's a big headache relief. So. And
then how big's the team now? Because you've grown, you've had a few more and a few more and a few more.
Yeah, I think we're about 23, 24.
Nice.
We because we're relying on the technology, we don't want to be 100, 200 people. We want to rely on the product and make sure that it's automated. That's the way that we can grow.
That's about SaaS, right? As you said before, like if you've got a SaaS product, ideally it should run itself.
Yeah.
Once you've onboarded them, then off they go. Yeah. You provide excellent support and everyone else, which is a fantastic, which I'm sure you do. But I think the onboarding one is really important. Once you've got them happy, and because off they go. If someone knows what they're doing for you, it's sign up and off you go, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And for us, I say we don't want to be a team of 200-300 people because we want to be product, but we cross the chasm between SaaS and fintech. Genuinely, because we're dealing with funds here and distributing it to people, and with the functionality that's come and spend and save, there's a lot more regulatory stuff that goes behind that. So in an ideal world,
when's my pension going to kick into it?
Exactly that. Yeah, no, exactly. It's all come with a save functionality. Things like pension, put some of your tips toward pension funds, and it's a hot topic. Honestly, the amount of 18 to 30-year-olds now that are thinking about pensions, when I was not thinking about pensions between the ages of 18 and 30, it's incredible. So
Tipjar savings coming out next.
It is.
It is amazing. You heard it. Awesome. Okay, so I mean, to be fair, the next question was really sort of talking about the looking forward, but we have already talked about the looking forward and so on. So I think we'll hit towards the last question. So thank you very much for coming. I'm going to give you a round of applause. So you popped a cherry, which is fantastic. And this is an easy one, so no difficult questions. Cool. Someone said to me, for series 2, you need to ask the difficult questions, and I'm like, I'm good, thanks. I'm too friendly. But yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you for explaining to me what TRONC is and listening. But we'll add all the links anyway into the footer as well, and then any info that you have, PDFs and stuff, we'll put in that as well. So it'll be helpful for people to download and see what's going on, because I need to give it to Paolo, because he defo needs it.
We'll sort them out for you.
Sorry?
We'll sort them out for you.
Yeah, thank you. I literally might he'd be like, just do it for me, please. So I'll probably end up doing it for him. Okay, so the last questions. Our best restaurant.
Oh, that's a tough question.
You can do a couple if you like, because you have clients as well, but it's personal, or either or. It could be any country. That helps.
I would say I'm a pub grub type of guy.
Yeah.
So I say the best restaurants I ever dine in, or the best pubs, I overindulge. So therefore, I walk away actually feeling different because I've overindulged. But and one of those is probably the Hand and Flowers that I went to many years back. I overindulged, but everything that I put in my mouth was incredible, and that's why I ate too much.
Where is it?
Marlow. Tom Kerridge's.
Oh yeah.
So what is it? The only 2 Michelin star pub.
Yes.
So like I say, like pub grub. That's to another extreme.
A bit up level. Up leveling pub grub.
But do you know what? I went to a restaurant in Paris. I don't think it's even open anymore, called La Mariette. And genuinely, the things that happened in my mouth was incredible. Like
flavor explosions.
Yeah, it was incredible. So that was just about right, because also French cuisine, you're not having massive portions either. It's hard to overindulge on too much. But yeah, I'm not necessarily going to do the plugs like I could have done. It's genuine,
I like that.
Yeah,
your
traditional pub grub.
Yeah. Best burger.
Do you know, I actually tried something today because I'm a big fan of Top Jaw.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Yeah, they get a lot of shout outs for a particular burger brand that I went to today just before this to see whether actually it would trump it.
Okay.
And I'm not going to name them because I don't want to do them a disservice. It was a good burger, but people get pelters for this on Top Jaw. I'm a big fan of Five Guys.
Really?
Yeah.
How was I today? I drove past someone today that literally were building a brand new Five Guys.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm a big fan because it's the personalization. I'm a big fan of personalization in customer experience in its entirety.
What's your Five Guys personalization then?
So I will go for the double bacon cheeseburger, or the large one, whatever they call it.
All the way?
Not with everything. No. I'm a semi-fussy eater. I'll go jalapenos, I'll go mushrooms, I'll go barbecue sauce typically.
Yeah.
Probably the Cajun fries, and I love their milkshakes.
Yeah, the milkshakes are awesome.
So yeah, they're very good.
Yeah,
So
to be fair, I guess you talk about consistency.
Yeah.
There is consistency in the product. So yeah, I do like it. The chips kill me because there's just so many on there. But I tip for you, off menu item. The cheese toasty or the cheese thingy they do
really good.
You can add a patty into that, and
No
then
way.
you can customize it, and it will be cheaper than a burger.
Is that right?
Off menu.
I'll
Secret
try that
menu.
one.
Yeah, so I think it's like the cheese patty they do, which is basically an upside down bun or such.
Okay.
Or the bottom of, I don't know, the bottom of a bun. So basically, you normally have it as just cheese all the way if you want, but you can add a patty in there. Whenever you do that, they look at you and they go, "Oh, he knows the secret method." So you can get that. There you go. The little tip for you. You talked about, to be fair, we talked about best hospitality experience, but best hotel. You have mentioned it's the same one,
Phuket,
the Sala Phuket.
definitely.
I will check it
Incredible.
out. It's I stayed in the Sala Samui. I don't know if
nice.
it's the same brand, but it was freaking awesome. Beautiful, amazing.
It's just it's like private villas. It was where I stayed, and
Did you have a little pool?
Yeah, it was outside shower and outside bath. Yeah, it was just incredible.
Yeah.
It might have changed in 15 years, but
Probably
that was
hasn't, to be
incredible back
fair,
then.
because Thailand, those sort of brands sort of stay. So, okay, we're at the end, and we have 2 questions for the next guest.
Yeah, I'll have to revert to my phone on this one. I think I'm not going to go like Mo did and go too negative.
I think he's just seen so many positive ones, so he's like, let's get into the dark side.
But I'll start with, if there was, so it doesn't have to be negative, but if there was one change that you can make to the UK hospitality scene, what would it be? One change. Now that could be policy, legislation, what we do, how we talk
get rid
about
of QR codes, anything you like.
Exactly. So one change they would make.
Yeah.
And the other one is, if you could give an award to one individual within the sector for the impact that they've made, and what it is that they've done, who would you give it to?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Hopefully a really nice positive one to finish on, or to start the next one on.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you. I appreciate that. So this is Dan Hawkie from COO, of Tipjar. COO?
CCO.
CCO. Sorry. CCO of Tipjar. I'll let you give the website because people know it, but I mean, just in case anyone in America is not looking, how do they find Tipjar? How do they get on Tipjar? How do they learn more about it?
Yeah, cool. So our website is wearetipjar.com. Type Tipjar in online.
Good SEO.
Anyway. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We can give free consultations.
Are you guys doing stuff in the US as well?
Yeah, we work in about 20 states in the US as
Amazing.
well. Working in Eurozone across Europe as well. So Wells & Co are a client of ours that have implemented tap-to-tip boxes, then done Super TRONC, and then also moved the tap-to-tip boxes to France as well. Wow. So yeah, we work across Europe.
Before we go, how does it work with the fiscal stuff? Or is that easy? Or is that challenging to...
It's not necessarily just the fiscal stuff. It's every state in America or every country could have different legislation around tipping and tax and everything else like that.
So, as people, are you learning as you go and you're adding more regions on?
Our CEO is incredible, but also we've got a great compliance team. So from that side of things, we're not actively pursuing those other markets yet.
If you've got a group of 10 people that come to you and say 10 sites, 20 sites, and we're here, what do we do? Because people, it is the generation of what's happening, right? It needs to happen. Anyway, let's give everyone a wave goodbye.